I'm Colton with Porsche Center Calgary, and I am here today with another lovely piece of pre-owned inventory. This one is a 2017 911 Turbo Cabriolet. So first off, I'll tell you a little bit about what that means in general, this kind of model, and then we'll dive into the specifics of this one here. So 2017 represented kind of a refresh for the 911. It went from what they call the 991 generation to the 991.2. So a few little upgrades, but they're pretty meaningful. A little bit of horsepower gain, slightly different front and rear bumpers, different taillights, different headlights, different design on the steering wheel, and then your infotainment system, what Porsche calls the PCM, was also upgraded. So now, as of 2017, you can pinch to zoom and you can swipe across presets, things like that. They also added Apple CarPlay. So some things, if you're comparing with the 2016, you'd be missing a few features like that, and it wouldn't have quite as much power. Being a turbo, it is of course turbocharged, 3.8 liter twin turbocharged flat six. And for this model year, it makes 540 horsepower and 523 pound-feet of torque, which makes for quite exceptional performance with this car. The specs don't tell the whole story when you look just at the horsepower numbers with any of our cars, but especially the turbo. They tend to underrate them and under-promise on those acceleration times. If you look at different independent sources, magazines and stuff, they tend to rate it even quicker than Porsche does. It's quite a wild thing. But then at the same time, the Turbo is a car that you can drive every day and it's quite comfortable. They're all-wheel drive. They're really quite usable, pretty easy to get in and out of. But then when your mood changes and you want it to be a little bit more ferocious, it can absolutely do that too. But let's talk about this one in particular that we have with us today. It is GT Silver Metallic, which is a lovely color. I have had a couple of 911s myself personally in this color. I love it. It really picks up the light around it very, very well. It'll look different at different times of day and just has a lot of depth to it. Some silvers can look bland or boring, frankly, but GT Silver is exceptional. I really like it a lot. These wheels are a 20-inch. These are the Sport Classic wheels, kind of a traditional 5-spoke that I think is suited quite well to this vehicle. Other stuff outside the headlights are the top level. They are the LED Porsche dynamic lighting system. So they're about twice as bright as the standard headlights, and they'll turn with the steering wheel and they'll look further down the road as you speed up. And they'll have the auto high beam function too, so you can leave that on, and whenever the high beams can be on, they will be. But if it sees a car coming the other way, it will deactivate them so you're not dazzling that oncoming driver. So maximizing your nighttime visibility. A couple of other subtle things on the outside. The rear intakes characteristic of the Turbo, those would be unpainted black plastic. On this one, they were painted to match the body. And then the side mirrors too, similar to that. These are the Porsche Sport Design side mirrors. So the standard ones would have been black unpainted plastic underneath. When you went with the Sport Design in this year, they're fully body color, and you also have kind of a split spoke in there. They're a little bit sportier looking, which makes a pretty big impact, I think, actually, on the exterior of the car. And then something that you can't necessarily see, but impacts the outside, and that is it has the front axle lift. So obviously these cars are pretty low. You've got a button inside you can press, and within really just a couple of seconds, that front axle will come up. So if you're entering a parking lot, maybe with a steep incline, or certainly your driveway, you're going over a speed bump, stuff like that, you don't want to scrape that front end, you've got the option to just hit that button and lift it up. Works really super well, very quick, really nice to see on a pre-owned vehicle. It would have been about $3,500 to add, so a nice thing that adds definitely value and usability on a pre-owned car like this. And now then, let's move on to the inside. Being a turbo, they'll all have full leather interior, so not just your seat, but your dashboard and everything are leather wrapped. But with this one, it's the two-tone leather, so you have the black dash and upper part of the doors and carpets, but then your seats and the lower part of the dash are in the Bordeaux red, which is really nice, gives it a bit of a more unique, a little bit more premium feel, I think, in there than when it's just all black. And then you also get a little bit of contrasting stitching along the top of the dash and the doors. They are in black, as I mentioned, but they have that Bordeaux red stitch throughout, which I think, looks great. The trim in this one is the brushed aluminum, which we don't see too often, actually, and I think is a shame. I think it's a really nice trim, and it is a tough trim too. And what I mean by that is some of the trims will show, scratching and wear over time, or even just fingerprints as you're touching. You've got to press the trim to access the cup holders, for example. So those can get kind of printed up and used. With the brushed aluminum, because it's already textured, it really doesn't show any of that stuff. And I think it looks quite nice in the car. Other important stuff to note in there, you have the 18-way seat, so the most bolstered, most adjustable seat. You can really have it wrap around you very tightly if you'd like. Same adjustments, by the way, for driver and passenger with our cars. You also have the leather on the steering column, which is worth noting too. When you have a full leather interior, sometimes that plastic bit on the steering column can really stand out. This one was optioned to have that wrapped in leather and also have a little bit of that contrasting red stitch through there. You've also got heating and ventilating on those seats. Also, the Porsche crest was embossed on the headrest of the seats. This one has the lane change assist, or blind spot warning as it's known outside of Porsche world. And then also importantly, the very top level sound system. This one has the Burmester audio, which if you haven't experienced in our cars is quite significant. Some other manufacturers use Burmester as well, but it's not necessarily as premium a version as we have. Ours is very premium. You can really only get the most out of it with optimum files. You know, listening to the radio, you might not notice the difference, but if you have uncompressed music files, the difference is phenomenal. And it's a really nice thing, again, to see on a pre-owned car, some added value there. And I think that's just about everything I wanted to talk about with this one. There's a whole lot more to go over, but that kind of sums up some of the highlights. And if you'd like to know more, do give us a call or pay us a visit and come down, check it out. Thanks so much for watching.